Good day, everyone. It's Alan Schimmel, DevOps.com, and thanks for joining us on a very special video presentation today, where we're joined by some of our friends at CloudBees, and we're going to be talking about DevOps World, Jenkins World. Before we get started, let me just say that, as I mentioned, this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of event in that it's not your typical webinar where we're going to go through a slide panel and do all that usual stuff. It's more of a chat. I have two people on with me. Hopefully you can see their smiling faces. We might be joined by a third momentarily who's having some technical difficulties logging on, but hopefully we'll get that straight. But really the gist of today's show is to talk a little bit and give you a little bit of a behind the scenes sneak preview of what to expect at DevOps World, Jenkins World, which is shaping up as one of the major DevOps-related events of the year. It has been in years past. Before we get started, though, I wanted to mention a little bit about our GoToWebinar control panel. We love having people share with us and join with us on these, and we've set aside time for questions. As a matter of fact, we'll probably be taking questions in real time. So if you look at your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll see a section marked questions. And if you click the little arrow or caret, so it's downward facing, you'll see that you're able to type your questions in there. Guys, type in your questions in real time. Don't wait until the end when I say, hey, does anyone have questions? There might be a rush. You might forget what you want to ask by then. Who knows? Type your question in there. The nice part about it is we have a record of it. We'll get to it. You don't have to worry about asking it later. You don't have to worry about remembering it. So please do that. If, on the other hand, you're having any sort of technical difficulties, maybe the slides aren't moving, the audio's not working, what have you, please use the chat section of your GoToWebinar control panel. And with that, we have engineers standing by who will try to help you with any kind of issues or questions you have. Really, that's how simple it is on the ground rules today. Rather than the usual hour, I think this one is just scheduled for, what, a half hour or 40 minutes? Asking my engineers here, yeah? Mm-hmm. But we'll go, depending on questions and everything, we'll get that out to you. Okay. So first of all, let me introduce our panelists. So if you're looking at the screen as I am, in the left-hand corner, good-looking gentleman with the white shirt is none other than Andre Pino, who heads up all things marketing at CloudBees. Andre, welcome.
Alan, how are you?
Oh, great. Always better when you're around, Andre. So thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you, and good to see you're not on the road today.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be home for a while. Thank goodness. And then on the far right, the even better looking gentleman is none other than evangelist extraordinaire, DevOps expert, Jenkins expert, Brian Dawson. Brian, thanks for joining us today. Brian?
You're on mute.
Okay. All these little things, they always pop up.
Hello.
Yes. Fantastic, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. You had me in suspense. I originally thought you were going to say the good-looking fellow in the white shirt named Alan Schimmel.
Well, I don't introduce myself often, but truth be told, I'm in a gray shirt, but it's okay, but I appreciate it. But no, look at this, 3 good-looking men on one panel. I don't know how much the world can take. But anyway, hey, it seems like we've lost Brian's video there for a second, but let's dive right in. Andre, so big changes this year, right? But before we jump into them, let's do a little bit of history, if you will. Give our audience background, Jenkins World, right? I mean, I've seen it grow over the last 3-4 years, right? But tell our audience a little bit about it.
So we started Jenkins World back in 2011. It was actually the Jenkins User Conference back then with 200 people in a small hotel in San Francisco. In fact, we held it on a weekend just prior to Java 1, in fact, on a Saturday and Sunday.
Mhm.
So that's how it all got started. And fast forward to today, we're expecting over 2,100 people at the Marriott Marquis in San Francisco this year. And so we've grown tenfold over the last several years. And in fact, this year we're expanding into Europe. So we're going to have a European DevOps World, Jenkins World in October. And one of your favorite places, Alan, the French Riviera in Nice, France. So it's going to be
I'll be there. Yes, it will be. We're looking forward to it. Andre, I wanted to focus right in on San Francisco's Jenkins World at first, only because it is first. It's coming up. It's the week of September 16th, I believe, correct?
Correct. So that's actually a Sunday. So that will be the start of training sessions. So training sessions will start on Sunday the 16th, and then on Monday the 17th, training will continue, as well as we'll have the workshops take place on Monday, and then the keynotes and the actual conference program sessions will kick off on Tuesday, and then the show will conclude on Wednesday.
Fantastic. Now, Andre, let me, I guess I'm in charge of moving the slides. Let me see if I can make that happen for us here. Yeah, now the dates are up there. Fantastic. I apologize, guys. I'm multitasking. So, Andre, one of the big changes, though, this year is, what we still call it Jenkins World, but as we see in the slide, the top line is DevOps World.
Yeah.
Why?
So
what's behind that?
Yeah. So Alan, when we started in this DevOps market, 4 years ago, who knew how big a trend it was going to become? And the fact is, it's become a huge trend. And Jenkins has always been a very large part of DevOps, but it's not everything DevOps. So we felt that this was a great year to increase the size of the umbrella and to allow other technologies to participate and play a role in this event as well, because there's so many aspects to DevOps. And so that's the reason for adding the name DevOps World to it. We want people to recognize that this is not just a Jenkins event, and all the tracks are not just about Jenkins. There's so many sessions that are purely about DevOps, about cloud native DevOps, about DevSecOps, a very important topic that are some are related to Jenkins, some are completely unrelated to Jenkins. So we wanted to create a bigger umbrella and ensure that people recognize that this is actually an event for all things DevOps, not just Jenkins. And so we've added DevOps World to the name of the event, and of course it will have a pretty heavy Jenkins focus to it, but it's clearly for anybody that's interested in what's happening in DevOps today.
Yeah, and Andre, adding my 2 cents to that, and Brian, I know this is preaching to the choir, interested in your take on it as well, is even the term DevOps itself is not just about Dev and Ops. There's DevSecOps, there's DevBizOps, there's DevXXXOps, DevWWWOps. The whole world seems to everything in technology and the way we're doing things kind of flows under this umbrella that we're calling DevOps. It is a different world than even 4 or 5 years ago. Brian, what do you think? Not sure. Brian might be on mute. But I also understand, Tyler, are you with us out there now?
In theory, I should be floating around here somewhere.
Oh, there you are.
You are floating. We can't see you, but we can hear you. Tyler, welcome. Welcome to our panel here today.
Thanks for having me. Glad I could finally show up somewhere.
And Brian is off mute, I think, Alan.
Brian is off mute as well. Great. So, guys, I'm going to put it to both of you. I'm going to let Brian go first, and then Tyler, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and you can pick up where Brian leaves off. Brian, when we talk about DevOps now, you want to talk about scope creep, but what does DevOps mean to you now?
Well, I think it's interesting that you called out the fact that we have these other terms, such as DevSecOps, or in the context of DevOps, we're talking about things like continuous testing or continuous security. And so to me, really DevOps has always meant more than just connecting the seam between Dev and Ops. We're rather looking at a holistic picture where you're delivering from the start of development, i.e. business, all the way kind of to the end of operations, the customer. So I think what we are starting to see and will be on display at Jenkins World is we're moving beyond sort of a very narrow definition of what DevOps is. We've kind of matured there. And now you're seeing teams trying to figure out how to truly extend DevOps to include all of the practices that were present in software development of prior. So you'll see a lot of that on hand at Jenkins World, conversations about security, conversations about observability, conversations about capturing requirements from the business.
Yep, excellent. Tyler, why don't you start off, and I apologize for the ad hoc nature of this, but Tyler, why don't you give our audience a little background on you, and then if you wouldn't mind kind of giving us your 2 cents on what Brian's talking about.
Sure. So I'm Tyler Croy. I've been in the Jenkins project for over 10 years now, which is quite a long time. I'm a board member, and most of what I've actually done for the Jenkins project as a contributor over the years has been working on our infrastructure and working on actually delivering the Jenkins project itself. So I've been a longtime Jenkins user, but we also use Jenkins and sort of are practicing continuous delivery and infrastructure as code and all sorts of things to actually ship Jenkins as a product unto itself. And what Brian was getting at is something that he and I have also had, discussions over drinks a few times around in the past. And the thing about I would say enlarging, I'm pretty sure that's a word, we'll go with it, the enlarged scope for what DevOps World, Jenkins World is supposed to cover, I think starts to capture what hasn't really been discussed effectively in the industry up until the last couple of years, which is that the delivery or the practice of getting software created and to customers is a skill set, and it's a whole domain of expertise unto itself. There's developers out there who are really, really good at building front-end applications or Android applications. And there's all of these different specialties, but the actual act of delivering something from concept to customer is not something that's been appreciated very well before. And I think the content we have at DevOps World, Jenkins World is really going to speak to that audience, which I'm excited for.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. So, guys, so we calling it DevOps World, talk a little bit about how big that is, but let's not, I hope anyway, lose focus of our core audience, of our core mission. Would you say the theme is still wholly on, well, it can't be wholly on Jenkins because we have DevOps all together. But so how do you structure that, right? Andre, I don't know if that's a you question or maybe Brian or Tyler, but how do you balance that?
Yeah, so good question. So the theme of the conference is transform, and I think that's just a really fitting theme for the DevOps area, because that's what DevOps is all about. It's all about transforming the way we develop and deliver software. And this year at DevOps World, Jenkins World, we're putting special emphasis on the cloud and the role it's playing as a transformational technology for software development and delivery. And in fact, we've got every single major cloud provider is going to be a key partner with us at DevOps World, Jenkins World this year, including AWS as our showcase sponsor, and including diamond sponsors Microsoft and Google and Red Hat and VMware and Scalar. And so they all recognize that the cloud is having a huge impact on software development delivery. And I think that one of the big things that people who come to DevOps World, Jenkins World this year are going to see is how they can take greater advantage of the cloud technologies as well as the cloud native technologies like Kubernetes. In fact, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation is sponsoring DevOps World, Jenkins World as well. And so there's all these, all these technologies are coming together. And where are they coming together? Right in the heart of software development delivery in DevOps. And that's what's so exciting about our event this year, is that we're going to be able to provide for all the attendees a full 360-degree view of how this is all coming together and what the future of software development delivery is going to look like. So it's getting pretty exciting, Alan. Yeah. But I talked a little bit about the way the conference is structured, and with starting off with training and workshops. But then once we get into our conference sessions and programs, basically what we've got is a series of tracks that are focused on Jenkins, and those tracks are managed by the Jenkins community. So Tyler and the rest of the team that governs the Jenkins side of that conference. But then we've got a series of DevOps tracks as well. We've got DevOps leadership track, a DevOps practitioner track, a cloud native DevOps track, a DevSecOps track, and then AWS will have a series of sessions of their own as well. And so there's a whole lot of sessions that across the board, across Jenkins, across some of the DevOps topics, some of the cloud topics that are all coming together at the conference.
Excellent.
And in fact, Brian, you're chairing the DevOps practitioner track, and you got good visibility into the leadership track. What are you seeing?
I'm honestly seeing a very interesting extension of how to leverage Jenkins to drive real world implementation of DevOps. So there's this, I guess I'd say, mix of yes, the higher level conceptual picture of DevOps, but in pairing it with Jenkins World, what we get is real practical guidance and content on how to achieve that higher level vision. And when we pair together the leadership and the practitioner talks or tracks, we end up addressing both ends of the continuum, both ends of the spectrum, to give a complete picture.
Excellent. So guys, I'd like to dive, there's some interesting keynotes though too. And not only at San Francisco, there's some good ones at Nice. Why don't we explore that a little bit, Andre? Who are the keynote speakers and what are they talking about?
Yeah, so the keynote speakers this year will be Kosuke Kawaguchi, as always, delivering the Jenkins community keynote. And the CloudBees keynote will be delivered by Sasha Labere, our CEO, along with Christina Noren, our Chief Products Officer. And then because they are a showcase sponsor, AWS will have a keynote. So Arun Gupta, one of the evangelists from AWS, will be delivering a keynote as well, along with Dr. Nicole Forsgren, who is part of DORA with Jez Humble, and also has recently written a book with Jez Humble and Gene Kim called Accelerate. And so Nicole, that's going to be a great keynote. Yeah, Nicole will be there talking about that book, and she will also be doing a book signing. So you can come get a copy of the book and get Nicole to sign it for you. But just in Europe, we also have a keynote by James Governor, very well-known consultant on software development and delivery, based in the UK. So we got quite a lineup of keynote speakers.
Yeah, I think James Governor is the founder of RedMonk, if I'm not mistaken.
He is.
Right. Yep. Okay. And then Tyler, let me throw this to you. All this just sounds great, but what about? I'm sorry, I'm trying to move slides here. I don't know if it'll work. Okay. Well, here, some nice pictures of our speakers. Tyler, what about for the Jenkins user? Yes, there's a whole track of Jenkins related subjects. Yes, KK will kind of give a keynote setting the vision for the future of Jenkins, perhaps? What else can Jenkins users specifically look forward to?
So I don't want to undersell the Jenkins involvement, because there's actually 3 or 4 Jenkins tracks, which is
a whole. Oh, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a whole big bucket of stuff. So
Okay.
there's like the Jenkins and Devops track is probably where, if I'm not hanging out at the Jenkins project booth, which is, you know, we have that every year. We have a lot of contributors come down and we help people, you know, solve some Jenkins problems, or we talk about contributing to Jenkins. I think last year we were fortunate enough to have a couple people become contributors there at Jenkins World at the booth for the Jenkins project, and we solved a few bugs right there on the show floor, which was a lot of fun. So when I'm not there, I'm actually planning on popping over to there's the Jenkins and DevOps track, where there's some really, really interesting stuff that's coming up on. I don't want to get too disorganized in my thinking here. So we have these huge initiatives that Kosuke is going to talk a lot about during his keynote, which will be really great. And one of them, which a lot of Jenkins users, especially the sysadmins and operators out there, may have seen, is the Configuration as Code project. And so we've got a few of the contributors for the Configuration as Code project that are going to be presenting in the Jenkins and DevOps track. And then on the, you know, in another one of the Jenkins track, the Jenkins for the cloud track, or Jenkins in the cloud, another big initiative, which Kosuke will sort of tee up during the keynote, is this cloud native work that some of the Jenkins contributors that work at CloudBees have been pushing forward, talking about really bringing Jenkins into the cloud more effectively, utilizing S3 and CloudWatch and some of the, I would say, native services behind cloud that cloud providers offer us to make Jenkins more scalable and just perform a lot better. And then somewhere floating around, I think we've got it in the cloud native track. We also have the guys coming over from the UK that started the Jenkins X project, talking about continuous delivery for Kubernetes with Jenkins X. And so there's 5 big initiatives that Kosuke is going to tee up: Configuration as Code, Cloud Native Jenkins, Jenkins X, Jenkins Evergreen, and there's one other that I'm forgetting, and I'm going to kick myself when I remember it. But there's just one.
Not to
and
worry. Don't
there's going to be tracks covering just about every single one of those, including the contributors that are working on those are going to be on the floor as well. So if you just want to talk about Jenkins for 2 or 3 days straight, DevOps World, Jenkins World, we'll certainly have you covered.
Great.
And Tyler, if I can jump in, what about we doing a summit this year, and a contributor summit and a hackathon?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Like I said, it's packed full of Jenkins stuff. So I believe on that Monday, to start off DevOps World, Jenkins World, we're going to have what's become a tradition now before this event run by CloudBees, to have the Jenkins Project Contributor Summit, where we invite a lot of existing contributors and new contributors, people that are there for Jenkins World, to help us chart the course for the next year of the Jenkins project. And there's some really big, meaty topics that I'm very excited about talking about at the Contributor Summit, but I don't want to give those away just yet. So if you're interested in sort of helping drive where Jenkins is going into the future, that Contributor Summit would be a very important thing to take part in.
Great. Let me shift a little bit. Let's talk about, I know, Andre, you mentioned DevOps leaders. Brian, I know you're more on the DevOps practitioner track side of things, but you're involved with the leader tracks as well. What do DevOps leaders have to look forward to here?
You're on mute, Brian.
To this whole webinar thing, I'll get this mute thing figured out eventually.
One of these days, Brian.
There's a lot for leaders to learn. Again, as I sort of mentioned earlier, what I like is the fact that we've looked at DevOps holistically, and then we've couched it in Jenkins. And that holistic approach gives DevOps leaders a chance to kind of look at what does it mean end to end to implement DevOps, what I like to say from left to right, or as Tyler said, from concept to customer. But not only that, to scale it across an organization or across teams. For instance, in the leadership track, one of the talks that I know will be really good is called the 3 extra ingredients needed to attain true CD, how enterprises are driving measurable gains. And that will focus a lot on what are the key metrics that you need to capture in order to track, measure, and ultimately prove your success with DevOps, as well as what are sort of the order of progressions or order of steps to scale DevOps across the enterprise, which are uniquely different in an enterprise with multiple teams as opposed to a small shop with 1 or a few teams implementing DevOps.
Excellent. Brian, I'm sorry, we're getting a feedback here, an echo.
I just thought that was a sound effect to make you sound more
Yeah,
powerful.
no, my wah-wah pedal.
There you
But
go.
Brian, I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but some of the speakers who may be scheduled to talk in the DevOps leadership tracks, any kind of rise up?
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, before I get into speakers, the specific speakers, what I love is the fact that we have not only vendors, not only cloud people, but in fact, a majority of our speakers are practitioners, right? Real world customers that have led, implemented and led DevOps transformations. For instance, we have the director of engineering, Durga Prasad from American Express. We have Anthony Burns and James LaSpada from Capital One. We have a fantastic panel with participants from Allstate, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Croy team, IBM, and then of course the person that needs no introduction, Nicole Ferguson of Dora, will also be participating in the or speaking in the leadership track.
Yep, as we mentioned.
And Chris Kondo from Forrester is also speaking as well.
Oh, great. Good
stuff.
Yeah,
and if you, Chris, we've been on the road with Chris leading up to DevOps World, Jenkins World with Jenkins Days, and that is a talk to catch. Chris's content has been pretty awesome, and not only because I agree with a lot of what he says, or he says a lot of the same things that we're saying, but definitely worth catching.
Excellent. So, guys, let me turn it back to Andre. And look, for people who are listening, and there'll be more listening on this, not live, but on our recording as we push it out via devops.com and the Jenkins community. Andre, for people who maybe are sitting on the fence, they haven't decided if they're coming to San Francisco or if they're coming to Jenkins World, DevOps World. Is it still are there still seats available? And if so, what can they do? Do we have any kind of maybe special we can give them?
Yeah, so the show is certainly still available, and we've got room for folks. The expo, however, is sold out. So let me talk about the expo for just a minute, Alan. The expo for San Francisco is a sellout. We've got over 60 sponsors of the event this year, which is just tremendous support from the DevOps ecosystem. And as I mentioned, AWS is our showcase sponsor, but our diamond sponsors include Google, Microsoft, Red Hat, Scalar, KPMG, and VMware. And then our platinum sponsors include JFrog, Neoxys, Sonatype, Sauce Labs, IT Methods, Mac Stadium, Tricentis, Goto Group, GetZephyr, Pivotal, Capital One, and SmartBear. And so just tremendous companies, and there's many, many more at the gold and silver level. So if you want to come see the DevOps space all in one place, that's DevOps World and Jenkins World. But for this webinar, we've created a discount code that will give you 20% off. and it's pretty simple. It's Butler. That's all it is. And and for those of you that are in the Bay Area, look for our billboards and our urban panels that'll be starting up this week. We've got a billboard on Highway 101 heading north from the airport, and we've got 50 urban panels that will be displaying DevOps World, Jenkins World graphics over the next 30 days throughout downtown San Francisco. So take a picture, tweet it out. It's going to be pretty cool.
Absolutely. Andre, just a quick question. Would that registration code work as well for the folks maybe you want to come to Nice?
It will. It will. Yep.
Great. Hey, guys, I'd like to just add two things here. Number one, for I think for both DevOps World in San Francisco and Nice, DevOps Institute, of which I'm one of the co-founders, is one of the training partners, and I believe we'll be offering DevOps Foundation classes during the training portion of the event, Sunday, Monday in San Francisco. I'm not sure of the dates in France, but you can check on it. So just a shout out for anyone looking for, some good DevOps training there. And then secondly, at both events, devops.com will be there with our video booth. We'll be recording videos. If you are a practitioner, you're attending the event, stop by the booth, say hello. Maybe you want to be interviewed. We can make you a DevOps superstar. That's how Andre started. Andre didn't start like that, but we discovered Andre. But anyway, yes, we will be shooting videos there. We always get some of our best interviews at DevOps World, Jenkins World in years past, and this year DevOps World. So really looking forward to that. Guys, I want to make sure we're running low on time. Andre, any other highlights or anything we missed here?
Yeah, just one thing, Alan. We always say that DevOps World, Jenkins World is way more than just a conference. And let me talk about real quickly about some of the things that the attendees will be able to see and do beyond all the things that we've already discussed. We've got several book signings taking place. I mentioned the one that Dr. Nicole Forsgren will be doing with the Accelerate book. We've got, coming back again by popular demand, is our commit strip mural wall that you can help to color in as an attendee.
Cool.
That's always really popular. And then you mentioned the DevOps radio broadcast booth that DevOps.com will be running. We've got our event store with many items, many more items in it this year. We also have a big focus on women in tech this year, Alan. So we'll have sessions on women in tech. We'll have a luncheon for women in tech. So we're putting a big focus on that. We've got a number of great folks, both in CloudBees and outside of CloudBees, that are going to be participating in that aspect of the event this year. We'll have a T-shirt press there, and we'll have a welcome reception that takes place on Monday night. And our big party is on Tuesday evening, and it'll have a Westworld theme. So that's going to be really fun. If you were there last year, you remember the Summer of Love theme that we had last year, I think the Westworld theme is going to be a really popular one as well.
Cool stuff. All right, Brian, Tyler, I'm going to give you each a chance to give us your closing, if you will. Why is this a can't miss conference?
Okay, I'll go ahead and go so that you can save the best for last. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, but I really meant it. This is a can't miss because if you are a Jenkins user or a DevOps user, there is something here for you to add to your toolkit to enable you to extend your skill set and be successful in however you're approaching the problem. So if you're a Jenkins user, obviously you are using and deploying Jenkins to overall achieve an end objective. There is content here. There are experts here to help you extend your Jenkins usage, all the way from general automation to full automated delivery. If you're a DevOps leader or you're someone that's pursuing DevOps and you're looking for orchestration and automation and tooling solutions and practices with those solutions to help you achieve your end state, there is everything here for you as well.
Tyler, how about you?
Well, I mean, Kosuke is going to be there. I'm going to be there. All the other cool Jenkins contributors are going to be there. So I remembered the fifth thing is Jenkins pipeline. That's one of the big five from earlier. It's been
Very
around
cool.
for so long. It's become so much part of Jenkins for me. I kind of forget that it's, you know, something new and amazing for a lot of people. The big reason from my perspective to really come to Jenkins or DevOps World, Jenkins World, San Francisco, or in Nice is that there's these big five initiatives that we're going to be talking about, that you can meet the developers, you can see people that are already using it, some of these things like configuration as code, and figure out and learn how to really gear up your continuous delivery environment for, you know, the future that Jenkins and Jenkins X are moving into. And it's really exciting for me. I think the Jenkins project is now reaching a new niveau of maturity, and there's a really bright future ahead of us. And a lot of that we're going to be talking about at Jenkins World, or DevOps World, Jenkins World, excuse me. I keep forgetting that it's much bigger than it was last year now. But to me, that's the really great reason to come to DevOps World, Jenkins World is because, I mean, there's so much that's going to be there. And in the Jenkins space in particular, there's an extremely bright future ahead of us that we're going to be talking about this year.
Yeah. So I agree, Tyler, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing you. I haven't seen you in a while. Andre, I know we mentioned the code Butler for the 20% off registration code, but you know I'm old, I forget. Did we give people a URL to go to?
Just
Andre,
Google it, DevOps World. It's that simple.
What is it? Go ahead.
Just Google it, DevOps World. Easy enough to find.
And we'll get the URL. Okay, Google DevOps World, Jenkins World. I think you could probably get to it off of CloudBees as well. But look, 20% is 20%, as they say, and well worth it. Registration code Butler, like the Jenkins code. Actually, you know what, Andre, the wonders of the internet. I think some of our behind-the-scenes engineers were nice enough to give us the link, and I'm going to cut and paste that and make it public here to everyone.
And while you're doing that, now let me just tell folks that
Sure.
we got a very large number of companies that are sending 5 or more people to the event. And we have a very special discount for teams that want to come. So if you have a team that wants to come, reach out to us and we can give you that very special discount for teams of people that want to come to DevOps World, Jenkins World.
Yep. Okay. We'll have our engineers send that out now because I think I'm just a panelist here, not an organizer. I'm unable to send out to the general audience, to everyone. All right. So we'll have that going out to everyone. Guys, week of September 16th in San Francisco. And I believe, what is it? The week of October 22nd.
Correct.
Nice, France. So just about a month later in Nice, right?
Correct.
I look forward to seeing you all there. I look forward to all of our Jenkins community as well as the DevOps community at large coming out to support this industry-wide event. It should be a blast. Gentlemen,
Thanks,
as
Alan.
usual, thank you, Andre. Pleasure seeing you.
Everyone, we'll see you there.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Alan.
All righty. This is Alan
everybody.
Schimmel
Thank
for DevOps.com talking to you about Jenkins World, DevOps World, San Francisco and Nice. And don't forget registration code for 20% off, Butler, B-U-T-L-E-R. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great day.